This is so cool. I forgot to tell you in the vlog that these lights actually have Bluetooth control, so I can control both of them from my phone. This is so cool. Welcome back, guys. A special thank you if you're coming here for the camera tutorial. I left you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger, but don't worry, I dropped it on the same day, so it's not clickbait, we're all good. For those who don't know, although you really should at this point, this is my third video of the day. The first video is a vlog. We go through building this studio, and we unbox these lights. The second video is a camera tutorial where we go through the camera, how to set your camera up to look just like Hollywood. And this is the video that comes directly after, because setting up your camera is only half the battle. This video, we're using lighting techniques that Hollywood uses in order to get your camera to look as good as it possibly can. Now, lighting might be one of the most important aspects when it comes to the camera. Everyone always loves to look at the newest camera. How high of a K value does it have? How many frames a second can it go? And we love to look at the specs of these cameras. But in reality, if you don't have good light, that good camera is totally worthless. And we saw that in the camera tutorial. A little bit of spoiler alert if you guys didn't already see it. But even if you set up your camera to look just like Hollywood, it doesn't look right. That's because we have to have good lighting in order to make our films and videos look good. Now, what we're going to talk about is something called 3-point lighting. All your favorite Netflix shows, documentaries, movies, even live shows utilize this concept. It's what I'm using right now. It's a really simple and easy way to get your shots to look really good. Now, I know it says 3-point lighting, and for those keen viewers to know, I only have 2 LED lights, but don't worry, I actually have a bit of a secret as to how we can make a third light for literal pennies. I'm gonna get more to that when we get there. Okay, and for the lights for this demonstration, I'm gonna be using this. This is the Neewer 660 LED. Now, I did an unboxing for this in the vlog, so if you wanna go watch that, you absolutely can. But a quick recap is this is a bicolor light, which means it can do both a daylight, which is a bluey tone, and a tungsten. That's a much more yellowy tone. It can go in between those, and you can also change the intensity. All this can also be done on the app. Of course, it comes with its own stands, power supply, and barn doors that I can use to shape the light to get it exactly how I want to do it. Now, you can really use any light you want, but it's important to get a light with decent color accuracy. So if you don't have a light with a good color in it, you can purchase like a light gel to put on top of it. That'll change the color of it to a blue daylight or a yellow tungsten, depending on how you want to do it. For me, I'm gonna work on a daylight setting, so my lights are gonna be matched to go into a daylight blue cold setting. That's just personally what I like. All right, so if you follow my camera tutorial, the chances are your shot looks just like this. Now, for most people, this shot's perfectly fine, but we aren't like most people. We're a little nitpicky and we want to get our image to look as good as possible. So a few things wrong with this light. Number one, it's right above my head, which is giving me the Godfather kind of look. I got a really shiny forehead and dark eyes, not exactly what you're looking for. Secondly, check out the color. Look at my skin tone, it's very green. That's because this light isn't supposed to be a studio light. It's supposed to be just a room light. And this is perfectly acceptable for a room. But for our purposes, we need something a little more advanced. That's why in the LED lights, we can control how cold or warm the lights are. And they're a lot more color accurate than lights that you would have got from, say, the hardware store. First thing we gotta do is turn this off. Okay. So, it looks terrible, doesn't it? We want to start off with a clean slate so that we have total control over everything. Every other light in this room is off. Okay, we got the overhead light is off. I've closed the blinds and our lights are totally off. So right now, we have a clean slate to work off of. The only light you're seeing is coming from my MacBook. That's just so I can read off my notes, but it is providing a bit of light, which is making this somewhat bearable. Just like in my camera tutorial, we're gonna build off of it so that we can create something that we like. So let's start off with the first light. And the first light we're gonna talk about is our key light. Now, the key light is the strongest light for a 3-point lighting system. It's the one that's gonna provide the most amount of light on the subject. Right now, I have my light set up so it's at pretty much eye level and shooting straight at me. And well, does this look very good? I don't think it does. This does not look good at all. Usually light doesn't come at us from eye level. Unless a car is about to hit you, usually the light is above us. So let's start by putting our key light above us. All right, and so I've taken the key light, I've raised it up a little bit, and it's pointing down at my face at a 45-degree angle. Now, this is what's kind of known as the beauty light. A lot of people use this light to shoot models and things like that because it looks really nice on the skin. It smooths out all the imperfections and it can make your model look really, really nice. And if you have a single light source, this isn't actually that bad. This is pretty good if you want to sort of have a one shot that does everything. everything. But for me, it's a little basic and it doesn't get that depth and nice cinematic look that I'm looking for. So, though this is really nice and we're already starting to see a massive improvement, I'm gonna have to do one more thing to it. Okay, so you can see I've kicked the light over about 45-degree angle, so it's off to my left. It's still up and at a 45-degree angle pointed down at me. But now we have a much more contrasted image. The left side of my face is now a lot brighter than the right side of my face, which is a little darker. Don't worry, we're gonna solve it. But you can already see how it's a little bit darker and a little bit more contrasty. Okay, so we have our light now pointed at my face. It's in the right position. The only problem is the light looks pretty hard. And what I mean by that is you see the shadows in the bright part of my face is very defined. There's a dark side to my face and a bright side to my face. And the shadows are very hard, meaning there's a rough edge to exactly where the shadow starts and stops. We don't want that. We want a nice smooth transition from the light part to the dark part in our image. So for that, we need to use something like a diffuser. Now, for Hollywood sets, you might have seen these big giant light domes, or you might have seen these giant flags 4 by 4 feet with some sort of diffusion paper in it. I don't have any of that. So what I'm gonna use instead is a light umbrella. So this is the second light that came in the set. Now you can see, it's a pretty big light. The size of my head, it's pretty big. However, look how big the umbrella is. This is the umbrella, right? This is significantly bigger than this light. The point of this is a larger light source is going to give us a much softer shadow. So if you're looking to get rid of some of these hard shadows on a subject, then you want to use a larger light source. The bigger, the better. And in my case, I'm going to use a lighting umbrella. In fact, you can already see it right now. If I take the umbrella and I put it in front of the light source, you can already see immediately getting softer. It's also brighter, right? So you have to compensate for that. But see how hard the shadows are in my face? And if I throw this in front of the light, you can already see how soft these shadows are, how it already makes it a lot more pleasing to look at. Okay, so we have our key light up with the umbrella and it's looking so much better. Now we can focus on the next light, which is the fill light. Now the fill light is gonna fill in this dark part of my face, but we don't want it as bright as the key light. The key light is our strongest light. We want our fill light to be not as strong, but strong enough that it can fill in the shadows here. And for that, we're not gonna use a light at all. I'm gonna be using this. Now this is just a piece of foam core that you can purchase at your dollar store, okay? It's just $1 or so and it's literally worthless except for this one application. It's a really cheap light that we can have. Now watch what happens when I take the foam core. And as I place it up to my head, it's gonna start bouncing some of the light from the key onto the foam core onto my face, and it's gonna start filling in this side of my face. You can see the shadow is almost gone. If I hold this really, really close to my face, you can see they're almost the same. I have so much light bouncing off of this. Now this looks ridiculous, but if you think this is too much light, what you can do is you can just pull the foam core back. And so now we only have a little bit of light bouncing on my face, which still looks really good as opposed to no light at all. And that's how we're gonna be able to get a second light for $1 or $2. Okay, so this is the setup we have here. We have the key light with the umbrella. I have my foam core over here just off to the side. It's leaning on a few boxes. And you can see this side of my face has been lit up by the foam core. In fact, if I take away the foam core, you can see how my face gets a little darker on this side. But if I put the foam core back, you can see how it bounces that light off and I'm starting to look a little bit more even, a little bit more cinematic. So that's how we're gonna get 3 lights out of 2. Now, the final light that I'm gonna talk about is the hair light. It's the light that's put behind your subject. It's pointed down at my head towards the back of it. The point of it is you want subject separation from the background. So watch what happens when I turn on the hair light. When I turn on the hair light, you can instantly see there's a light outline around my shoulders and around my head. Now, if your key light's the strongest light, and your fill light is your medium light, then your hair light should be your weakest light. You don't want this thing too bright. There's 2 major mistakes I see people using hair lights with all the time. The first is having it too bright. So if you have your hair light too bright, you can see right now, I got this angel effect going on. I'm glowing from the background and you might want a character to look like they're an angel, but for most cases, you probably don't want them to have this white glowing look on their head. That doesn't look that good. So we're gonna turn that back down about 10% or so. You want it just enough that there's a little bit of light on your subject so that when I take it away, you notice something is missing. But when I put it back, you don't notice a light on me. It's a very subtle thing to create subject separation from the background. The second problem I see with people using a hair light is glare. This is one of the only lights that's directly facing towards the camera. And as such, it's prone to glare. So make sure you have your lens hood on your camera, or you set up your camera in such a way that it's not gonna get a glare from that hair light. You should always double check your viewfinder to make sure that you're not getting a glare from the hair light, because that would be the main culprit if I see a glare in my viewfinder. Okay, and that's 3-point lighting in a nutshell. Now, I'm gonna give you one more tip, and that's practicals. Practical lights are anything that you can put in the background to break it up and make it look interesting. Now, it's important that these are different colors. So in the beginning, I talked about how I set my lights to daylight, how I like setting them in such a way that it's a nice, bluey, natural tone. That's just what I like. So these lights are a really gross yellowy tone, and the contrast looks really good. Really anything will do as a practical. If you have a monitor, LEDs, if you have a lamp or lights like these from IKEA, anything will do, but it should be preferably a different color. Okay, and there you go. We just broke down Hollywood's 3-point lighting style so that you too can do it at home. I hope it's been useful to you guys, so that you guys are able to make scenes that are interesting and exciting and light yourself up for pretty cheap, and you don't have to do a whole lot of work. You just have to know how to use the lights to the best of their abilities. So if you guys like this, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, everything you have to do. I'd love to hear your feedback down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching it to the end. If you haven't already checked out my first 2 videos, then go check them out. The first one's a vlog where we build this studio, and the second one, of course, is my camera tutorial. This is the lighting tutorial. I've been Andrew. Thank you guys so much for watching. And look how good this looks. Just like, this is a $2 thing from the dollar store. This is insane how good this looks. For Americans, you guys are getting this for like way cheaper anyways. Stupid inflation, man.